data, just like people and the world is not static, it also evolves.
Are you a fitness-loving foodie? Then BiFi Snacks is for you. BiFi offers real, high-quality chocolate you love, combined with functional ingredients, giving you as much as 26 grams of protein per bag, so you can be both a little bit bad and a little bit good at the same time. As a female-owned brand, BiFi dedicates a portion of its profits to other women-owned businesses. Currently sold in the US, you can find us on snacks.com and follow us on social at BiFi Snacks.
Hello and welcome to the Shiny New Object podcast. My name is Tom Ollerton. I'm the founder of Automated Creative, the creative effectiveness ad tech platform. And this is a weekly podcast about the future of data-driven marketing. And every week, I'm the lucky guy that gets to interview a very clever, influential, important, interesting person from the industry. And this week is no different. I'm on a call with Vanessa Atanasov, who is shopper marketing manager at Jack Links and BiFi in Benelux. So Vanessa, for anyone who doesn't know who you are and what you do, could you give us a bit of background?
Yes. Well, hello, everyone. I'm Vanessa. So I'm primarily a chatter and an overall energetic bunny. But what I do with that energy is I'm a shopper marketing manager. Today, I'm responsible for Jack Links and BiFi in the Benelux, but I'm also the shop marketing lead for Mr. Beast Beef Jerky in EMEA. Previously, I've worked at Kraft Heinz and JC.Co, so I would say I've spent many years of my life in the intersection of brands and shoppers and real-world environments.
Fantastic. So, lovely portfolio career there, lots of different angles, lots of different perspectives. You must have heard a lot of advice in that time. What's the worst bit of advice? What are the bad recommendations that you hear?
Yeah, so I really do love this question because my answer is quite an innocent one and something I think we've all heard and we might have all said to ourselves, which is, I've done this before and it worked, so we are going to do it again. Or the opposite also is quite true, the whole concept of, I did this before, it didn't work, so we shouldn't do it again. And I really dislike this because then you're operating under the assumption of we live in a world that's just is. We live in a very static world. We are ever-changing world. Shoppers change, retail environments change. I think a good example would be that the world is constantly evolving. The news is going on, so the news cycle is constantly running. Something that was news this morning is not news tonight. Trends are barely lasting more than a couple of hours. In fact, the second that you find out that a trend is a trend, it's way, way, way too late. So I always want to emphasize with people that you should challenge your old beliefs and even your new beliefs. You should always reevaluate. Something that happened 10 years ago is not good enough. Something that happened 6 months ago is not good enough. You shouldn't disregard that experience, but you should build on it. And understand that things mature and develop and not as they are.
So how do you stop yourself hanging on to these beliefs, right? I'm sure there's a belief in your heart right now that you're like, no, that's right. So how do you make sure you're challenging your own beliefs?
I've really caught myself doing this. So this is also a critique on myself at times. And I think what I often remind myself is how many times I've been proven wrong by actively seeking that information about proving myself wrong. There are situations, I think a really good example I often like to think about is the concept of banana bread. So we all did not really think about, or many households have never made banana bread before. And then we had the COVID lockdowns. And suddenly people know variations of flour, variations of humidity, and all these very niche artisanal things. And now suddenly that's mainstream. And that skill building happens every single day. And I have to remind myself of that, well, today I know how to make banana bread. Like, how can I assume that everyone else is also operating under the same conditions of when I previously had that information about them or that thought about them or activity or thing? So think of banana bread.
So let's get into some more direct advice about data-driven marketing. So you're in the shopper world, so it'd be good to get your perspective on what shopper is, because not everyone in this or that listens to this show will know exactly what shopper is, and it's got a variety of different meanings to different people. But what is your best bit of data-driven marketing advice that you find yourself sharing most often?
Yeah, so I'll first take a step back and explain what shopper is. So shopper as a concept is quite new, I must say, and it is often quite complicated. It really is the intersection between sales, marketing, and strategy. So at the heart, the shopper marketing is focusing on the shopper versus consumer. And I think people don't realize that there really is a key difference between the two. In essence, we, as a shopper marketing manager or marketeer, we use behavioral data and insights to drive conversion in the end. We look at the journey from start to finish being that final nudge moment, standing in front of the shelf or inside of the rack. 70% of all decisions are made in that final purchasing decision moment and kind of nudging people to make that purchase. And the advice I usually give when it comes to this is, again, reevaluate. Most brands and products, again, mature and they change. And sometimes like this whole thing about something that happened 6 months ago might not have the same response, because you want to make sure that people are building their own knowledge, their memory structures on a brand or a product. And now suddenly the awareness nudge is not going to be the same as the conversion nudge. And in essence, I'm trying to say is always reevaluate your data and also build on it. Don't just sit on the data that you receive, but build on top of it. Because data, just like people and the world, is not static. It also evolves.
So we're now going to talk about your shiny new object, which is one that we've not had before. So after 300 episodes, you'd think that is impossible. But you're going to talk about productive curiosity. So I think I know what that is, but how would you describe productive curiosity to someone who doesn't?
So productive curiosity for me is really training yourself to receive information in a way that is more out of the box. So you are questioning assumptions, you're challenging the status quo, you are really pushing information that you're receiving far beyond from the text that is provided. So this is very much semiotics. I don't know. I'm leaning into this right now.
It's good. Go for it.
So just the words and text itself is one thing, but like really pushing it beyond that. And what I mean by this is not being super creative and pushing the status quo in terms of creative stuff only or big campaigns, but also the unsexy stuff like admin, supply chains, like materials and stuff, seeing how things are made, how it's made. Just because it's made like this, you kind of push it. Why is it made like this? How can we build on top of that? And it's more about creating value. So if we think about marketing, I think you'll hear a great way about the productive curiosity is thinking, how can I save costs here so then I have more budget for the sexy stuff there, instead of just like earlier, we've always done it this way. Okay, but why? What more new technology do we have to improve on things, add more value and create efficiencies? It's about creating value, essentially.
So give me a more recent example. So because you've chosen it as your shiny new object, it must be something you think about and use all the time. So help me understand about another example of you using productive curiosity more recently.
Absolutely. So good examples would be any and all POSA materials that we have in store. They are the classic ones that everyone always develops. However, usually most retailers want some sort of exclusive. Exclusivity comes with complexity. And generally what happens is you'll be requested to do something a bit different. And especially in FMCG, there's a lot of laws that food laws, product laws, retail laws that we always have to follow. And what I always heard, especially when we were requested for exclusivity, was, oh, we can't do that. It's too complicated, or we don't have enough lead times. And this is where productive curiosity comes in, because you start asking these questions and you kind of trigger kind of enhanced problem solving. So not only am I asking, but I'm making other people also think productively. Don't just think about no. If we were to push to do this, trigger that part of your brain, that kind of problem solving part of your brain on what angles can we do that we've never done before, that maybe might be risky or scary, that might have this output. And by doing that, you also bring in other people to problem solve together productively. And with that, you can, I've developed myself exclusive items for stores with incredible lead times. I think now with the Mr. Beast launch in EMEA, everything that's on the shopper floor happened within 3 months, from concept to development, to put it on the shopper floor. And all the stuff that we develop there is also has high value, not just for the shopper or for us, but also the store owners. And this was done through collaborative, productive thinking and wondering, how can we do this quickly? How can we utilize a lot of skill sets? Let's not trigger a fear response, but a thrill response. Get excited about the output that this will have.
And so tell me more about that Mr. Beast activation. So you talk about the lead time has been really short in 3 months. So like, what was the outcome? Like, I presume that worked. Sounds like a pretty valuable partnership, So
Absolutely.
So yeah, what did you learn from that experience, other than that you can do stuff that's really effective with short lead times?
Yeah, so I myself learned to maybe sit back sometimes, because I'm like I said earlier, an energizer bunny. I really sought the opinions of other people based on the same problem. So valuing other people's way of framing the same problem, framing the same questions, and seeing how their life experiences and also professional experiences, how that frames also how they interpret the problem and their output, and kind of getting everyone's outputs together to kind of be like, okay, we have this skill, this skill, this skill. We put it together and make it happen big and quickly and loudly, and don't be scared. I think that's the one thing.
This episode of the Shiny New Object podcast is brought to you in partnership with MadFest. Whether it's live in London or streamed online to the global marketing community, you can always expect a distinctive and daring blend of fast-paced content, startup innovation pitches, and unconventional entertainment from MadFest events. You'll find me causing trouble on stage, recording live versions of this podcast, and sharing a beer with the nicest and most influential people in marketing. Check it out at www.madfestlondon.com. And so fundamentally, this is a data-driven marketing podcast. So when it comes to productive curiosity, what are the data points that you're relying on here? Because you're typically in a digital shopper environment, it's a click, it's an answer basket, it's a view, it's a whatever. So excuse my ignorance, but in a kind of raw, traditional shopper, not a consumer, a shopper situation, what are the data points that you really rely on for these kind of things?
So we do, shopper marketers also have the online stores. So that would be if Tesco online or Albert Heijn online. However, the more traditional ones are sales increase. It's also penetration, new shoppers coming in, repeat buying. You also have shopper baskets. I personally love a shopper basket because you really see adjacent brands, adjacent products. Something like ketchup with pickles. Or that
Makes
sounds
sense, yeah. I can't buy that.
that makes a lot of sense. But then suddenly it will be like ketchup with
Nappies or something.
nappies or something. Then you start realizing, okay, we have our own, as a marketing company, we'll have your own target market in terms of the consumer. But again, the person buying the products for the consumer is quite different. A really old saying is 100% of brand sales are made by shoppers. And we always think about the concept of with male razors. If you are targeting husbands, like a traditional family of 2.5 kids at home, the shopper is probably the wife, not the husband. So it requires completely different language. And so you can test that out by doing A/B tests in store and seeing, okay, we see that this had really good penetration numbers, or this had really good volume numbers. That's also a different framing or objective of what you're doing in the more traditional space.
And how does an A/B test work in that environment? Is that a geo test, like, one Albert Heijn versus another, and is that how it works?
You would have, there's different types of A/B tests, but if you want to do, let's say, different types of texts, I've done this also, where you find stores that have a similar shopper profile. So let's say two batches of stores in more rural areas, and then you test how's the uplift, the change, or the delta, like how they move across that. You'd be quite surprised at the incredible results. The human condition is so funny, how we get triggered by the smallest things. For example, in the Netherlands, the color pink triggers the concept of new. And I once tasted different shades of pink, and the incredible difference in sales and just a different shade of pink will blow your mind. And people kind of glance at in-store media, which is on purpose. You're there, you're automatic. You want to get out as quickly as possible. You know what you want to do. You want to get in and get out. So you only have maximum 3 seconds, but usually 0.9 seconds to really receive information. And you'd be it's quite incredible how some little things like colors, signs, these things that maybe have no text on them at all completely change a human behavior because of learned behavior, like signs, symbols. We know red is usually exciting, passionate. We know the brands associated with bread. However, psychologically, it triggers a passion response. It triggers an impulse naturally in the brain. So that's why you see fast food, a lot of fast foods have red in them because of that impulse factor. That's why I love shopper marketing, because of the human condition or consumer behavioral part of it, or psychology, sorry.
Yeah, and it's genuinely a fascinating part of the industry, as you say. What was your 70% of all decisions are made at the moment you put your hand out, right? So you just
absolutely,
you're the hand of God moving their hand from one product to another with a slightly different shade of pink. So
yes.
Now I know. Vanessa, thank you. Shopper, certainly in store, is not my bread and butter. So thank you for educating me on so many things there and telling me all about productive curiosity. If someone wants to talk to you about anything we've talked about today, where is a good place for them to get in touch with you, and what makes a message that you'll reply to?
Yes. So for me, LinkedIn would be the best, or at least the easiest. And of course, with my name, Vanessa Atanasov, the way to really push through is to have a more human-to-human contact. I think I receive a lot of those automated business development type of LinkedIn messages. And if someone wants to reach out to me genuinely, find out more about shopper marketing, I could talk about it for hours. So don't mind if I do. Reach out, ask questions. If you want to find out more, how to get into the space is also interesting, because it is quite a niche part of the marketing industry or retail industry.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Vanessa, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Hi, just before you go, I'd really appreciate it if you could take the time to write a review of the Shiny New Object podcast on Apple Podcasts or iTunes, whatever it's called these days, or whichever podcast provider you use. We're an indie podcast, so it would go a long way for us if you could just share the word and give us a bit of a support on those channels. That'd just be fantastic. If you haven't got time, that's also cool. And yeah, if you could tell your colleagues about the podcast, and also, if possible, don't forget to subscribe. And I'd love to hear your feedback. If you'd like to speak on the podcast or be a guest, or you think I'm asking the wrong questions, anything, I'd be super interested to hear what you think. So please email me at tom@automatedcreative.net. That's TOM at, I'm not going to bother spelling it. Anyway, you'll work it out. Thanks so much.